Do you want to learn how to get your brand into retail stores and then grow that brand into $100 million plus in sales just in brick and mortar stores? Well, today you are going to love the guest that we have on the show. Welcome to the Econ Breakthrough Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Hadley. I scaled my own brand to 8 figures in sales, and now my mission is to take it to over 9 figures. On my journey to 9 figures, I bring you unfiltered conversations with the smartest minds in e-commerce. Past guests include Kevin King, Ezra Firestone, and Michael E. Gerber, author of The E-Myth. Today's guest is someone who truly understands what makes consumers buy. Joining us is Dr. Mark Young, the founder and CEO of Jekyll and Hyde Advertising, a powerhouse agency that's been helping challenger consumer brands break through the noise and scale into household names with billions of revenue and billions in exits for nearly 3 decades. He's also the host of the CPG Insiders podcast. It's the #2 podcast in all consumer packaged goods niche. Mark is also the author of a brand new book, 27 Unbreakable Rules of Retail. And that teaches you how to build a $100 million brand in brick and mortar stores. Mark is not just your average marketer. His background blends neuroscience, persuasion, and behavior psychology. With decades of hands-on experience in CPG and direct response advertising, through his agency, Jekyll and Hyde, he's helped hundreds of emerging brands launch, grow, and dominate retail store shelves in online marketplaces. With that introduction, welcome to the show, Mark.
Well, thank you, Josh, and I'm going to hope for the next hour or so I can live up to that introduction.
Hey, you've got an impressive introduction. That's what helps when you've been in a space for 3 decades. I think like the compounding returns of just getting better and better at your craft is like the results speak for themselves, especially when you're doing billions in revenue, billions of exits that you've helped people with. So it's very impressive what you built.
So believe it or not, Josh, I'll give you this very quickly. I got my first job at an ad agency when I was 12 years old. That is a true story.
That's a young age.
And I launched my first consumer product in national retail when I was 14. So besides for being an ad agency, I've also owned and do own brands. So I wear both hats. So and here's the reason. When you think about consultants and agencies, and I know this is a family show, but I'll use this as my example. I think of consultants and agencies as people who claim to know, 65 ways to have sex and show up at an orgy without a partner. It's different when you're the person who knows what it's like to write the check. When we are dealing with clients, I know what they feel like. I know the anxiety they have. I know the risks they're taking. We understand what that risk is like. And my first hit product, which was decades ago, I literally mortgaged all the equity out of our house and loaned all the money out of our 401k to make enough products to launch that item. So I know what it feels like to risk everything and bet on yourself and bet on your belief that I'm right. Fortunately for me, that particular bet that I took on that one was a very good bet. And I've never needed to mortgage houses and take money out of 401ks anymore because that event solved that problem. And one of the beauties of consumer packaged goods is this is one of the rare industries where someone with an innovative mind and an eye toward how to do something better can go from an idea to millions of dollars and in sometimes billion-dollar exits in what I consider to be relatively short periods of time. One of my clients came to us with a single product. It was a tube of shaving cream. And in 5 years, Edgewell bought the company for $325 million. So this is a company where fortunes can be built. Now, I know that your audience is very focused on the e-commerce space, and we have an e-commerce operation, but I'm really here to talk about the brick and mortar space. And what I want to tell people is 80%, no matter how big e-commerce is, 80% of all the volume in consumer products is still sold out of a brick and mortar store. The majority of people still want to touch, see, feel, hold things before they give up their money. So in most categories, if you're an e-commerce only brand, you're only playing in a 20% pool. You're in the small pond. If you want to be with the big fish in the big pond, you have to go brick and mortar. Now, that being said, I'm going to kind of jump to the 27 rules here. Not every product that's out there belongs in Walmart or belongs in brick and mortar. Because when we think of these products, when we think of brick and mortar, we want to think of, and then there are specialty retailers. So we'll set that aside for a minute, but I'm talking about what we call food, drug, mass retail. When we think of those, food, drug, mass, and we'll call it food, drug, mass club. When we think about those, we think about products that are at the top of the funnel, not the marketing funnel, but the demand funnel. So we want products at retail that appeal to a wide audience. So some of the rules, the first rule is don't make products that you don't believe in. Because if you don't really like your product and you're not passionate about it, it's going to come through and the business will probably fail. Make products that solve human problems. Don't make a product because you know how. Make a product because it has a purpose. It has a purpose in people's lives. Never try to be everything to everyone, and never be a Me Too product. In brick and mortar, there's no room for this. So when we look at like Amazon, we know at Amazon, if I come out with, I'm going to say a travel pillow, we happen to be working on one of those, 15 other people will launch a travel pillow on Amazon when they see that our travel pillow's selling, right? A bunch of people are going to go make knockoffs and they're going to be out selling.
Because Mark, I'm going to interject right here to say this is actually probably one of the biggest pain points that a lot of the e-commerce sellers are experiencing right now. They're seeing over the last couple of years an influx of overseas competitors that are just imitating their product because they saw, hey, this is doing well, so I'm going to create a Me Too version of this, whether or not there's a patent or not. So this is where prices are being driven down. Margin is being lost on Amazon. And so what you're talking about is I think the retail frontier, as you talked about, 80% of the actual market value and sales happening off of Amazon, that's massive. And so I think people struggling there on Amazon need to, again, hear what you're talking about here to say look at the world that awaits you if you actually focus on creating unique products. But
when we look at Amazon, so let's say I come out with a great travel pillow, which my client did, and immediately a bunch of Chinese manufacturers are throwing knockoffs out there. To your point, it's a patented design. They don't care. They're throwing it out there. And this doesn't even count the counterfeiters. We haven't even gotten to the counterfeiters. I have one of my clients, which is a product called Dermend. Dermend is a line of skincare products for mature adults. They've lost tons of money on Amazon because of counterfeiters who are making God knows what's inside the tube with copying their packaging and then selling it much cheaper than they can sell it. So this is one of the things we see in Amazon. And one of the things that we see quite often, we have a lot of companies that will come to us, and we've been doing $10 million, $12 million on Amazon, and then we went to 7 million, and now we're down to 5 million because the knockoffs and the counterfeiters are draining their business. That's not unusual. This is not an issue in brick and mortar because in the world of e-commerce, the long tail is the rule. There is unlimited space for the next brand. There is unlimited space to be able to put in another Me Too product. In brick and mortar, stores are limited by these things called atoms. These are physical things that take up space. You can't have 950 different travel pillows in a Walmart. You can have 3. So how do you get to be one of the 3? That's the game. So once you can get there, now you've done something. Now, there's another issue. When we look at online sales, Josh, when we look at how people's brains work, there's an incredible piece of work, and I actually cover this quite a bit in another book I wrote, which is called Hypnotizing. But the original work was done by Conahan and Travinsky, and the book was called Thinking Fast and Slow. And they got a Nobel Prize in science for this work. And what we know is that human brains operate in 2 zones, what we call System 1 and System 2. System 1 is fast, intuitive, and responsive, impulsive. That's System 1. System 2 is methodical thinking and consideration. So an example would be, if I say, Josh, what's 2 plus 2?
4.
Exactly. Now I say, Josh, what's 7 times 14 divided by 3 to the second power?
Let me go to ChatGPT and I'll get back to you.
Your brain has to go to System 2. So forget ChatGPT. You're going to take a pencil and figure it out, but your brain has to go to the System 2. It's no longer on impulse. It's now deep thinking. Okay? When we look at digital ads, digital creative, what do we know about digital ads and digital creative? The first 3 seconds is the most important thing because I have to hook you. If I don't have some gimmick at the very beginning, I'm not going to pull you in. What else do we know? When people go to Amazon, they don't shop brands, they shop indications or categories. So they don't go to Amazon and type in the name of a travel pillow. They go to Amazon and they type in travel pillows. Now I'm competing with everybody who's knocking me off and everybody else in the category. But what if they went to Amazon and they typed in a brand of a travel pillow? Well, I come up first now, right? So now I'm at the front because they're no longer looking for travel pillows. They're looking for this travel pillow. The problem is digital buying is impulsive and it's indication and category specific. It's not brand specific. And digital ads don't create brands. So even though someone could be doing $10 million on Amazon and could be the number 1 in a category, nobody knows who they are. Because nobody went there looking for the brand, they went there looking for the item. This is where retail is different. Because retail is about building brands. So when we look at brick and mortar, and this is why digital ads don't work for brick and mortar. Digital ads drive digital sales. Traditional media drives brick and mortar. Television, radio, believe it or not, still print. Some influencers can drive it. But what happens is we have to do brand building because in the world of brick and mortar, I see an ad on Wednesday, but my shopping day is Saturday morning. So there's not click and buy. It's follow the message, consider the message, think through it, mentally add it to a shopping list, go looking for it 3 days later, 4 days later. Well, the only way I can do that is if I build brand recognition. Otherwise, I'm going to go to the planogram and I'm going to look for mouthwash and I'm going to see that there's 47 different brands and I'm going to figure out, which one has the shiny bottle. I need to go there looking for the brand of mouthwash that I want to buy. So this is why it's a different model. So we never want to be a MeToo product because in retail, no retailer wants a MeToo product. So this is the beauty of if I've got the travel pillow that everybody's buying, all those knockoffs on Amazon are of no interest to Walmart. And here's the reason. 1, Walmart's limited in space. Even though they do have 148,000 SKUs in their store, they're still limited by space. So for Walmart and all retailers, they practice something called SKU rationalization. So now we're getting into the AIs. And what the AI does is the AI examines their entire assortment and figures out which items could we live without and not reduce our annual volume in this planogram. So The AI immediately knows if we have 3 pillows that all look the same, it's going to take us the physical space of 3 pillows. But if we only had 1, we would still sell just as many pillows because consumers don't need 3. The second thing is, what gets you at Amazon? What gets you at Amazon is you've got a $50 item, so somebody from China puts it out there for $34. That doesn't work in retail. Why? Because retailers don't want lower priced products. So think your way through this for a minute. I know it sounds a little counterintuitive, but it'll make sense here. I'm Walmart. I have 15 mouthwashes. They sell between the prices of $5 and $12. Okay. Do I want to add a $4 mouthwash? Now, here's what that does. That takes up more space in my store, and my current $5 mouthwash buyer is now going to buy a $4 mouthwash. If I have a 36-point margin, I just made 36 cents less on the new product I just brought in because my customer traded down. So if I come up with the MeToo that's $1 less, Walmart's going to say, no way, not interested.